Good morning. I'm Kristin Tyler. I'm one of the co-founders of LAWCLERK, and I'm so glad you can join us for our webinar today. Today, we're going to be talking about the ethics of outsourcing and how you can make a profit from working with a remote associate. This is really the secret sauce to why and how outsourcing has changed the economics of a lot of solo firms and small firms all across the country. And so if you've been trying to crack the code on how to make a little more extra money and get more work done for your firm, then I'm glad you joined us. You're in the right place. So I'm going to go ahead and tee up my presentation. And while I do that, so my background, I'm an attorney in Las Vegas, Nevada. My background is in the world of trusts and estates, probate, that kind of work. And I'm a partner at a firm of about 20 attorneys. And more excitingly, I'm one of the co-founders of LAWCLERK. Hopefully, if you're here, you already know about us. LawClerk.legal is where you can find us. But in a nutshell, we are a service that helps busy attorneys outsource legal work to other attorneys. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Really excited that you can join us. So we're going to go through the economics of outsourcing, the ethics rules. This is not an ethics CLE, so I'm not going to bore you with that for hours. And then if you stick with me at the end, I have a challenge for you. I know lawyers have it like a good challenge. So that's how we're going to wrap it up today, is with that challenge. And I think that's going to be interesting for you. Okay, so let's set the stage. If you are here, I'm guessing that you are probably a solo or small firm attorney who is looking for ways to get all the work done, grow your profit, fight inflation, and kind of just do all the things. And if so, you may be looking for more creative ways to hire for your firm than the traditional law firm model, which doesn't work for a lot of people. And that's a great idea to grow your firm because, you know, as lawyers, we know that our time is money. Our time is money, literally. The more we work, the more we can earn because we're typically billing for the value of our time. And so there kind of reaches a breaking point where it's like, okay, I'm already working a ton of hours. I'm tired. I've still got more work. How can I get all this work done? And, you know, how can I also start generating some other revenue streams for my firm other than billing my own time? That's a smart move. And so you know, a lot of us are looking for ways to do that, and for good reason, because as attorneys, we're already working a lot of hours. Okay, this is some data that came out from Bloomberg Law in their 2021 Attorney Workload and Hours Survey. The 2022 has not come out yet, but they found that on average, and this was a survey, I believe, of over 1,500 lawyers, including solos up to big law, so the whole spectrum of attorneys, but on average, lawyers worked an average of 53 hours a week. And for some people, that was upwards of 80 hours a week. So I know you're working a lot. I know that a lot of you are burning the candle at both ends and probably pulling a couple of all-nighters every month just to get the work done. And that just really isn't sustainable over the long term. And so I definitely am glad you're here to learn about ways to outsource and get that help just from a workload perspective. But of course, there's also the economic perspective, which is probably intriguing to some of you. Some more data that I found recently from Above the Law, again, a survey of over 1,000 lawyers just in the solo and small firm arena. And this found that on average, most attorneys in that spectrum are making between $100,000 and $250,000. Now, I found some other data that said really the average income for an attorney in the US is $127,000. Now, this is certainly a lot of money. That's a good living. You know, when you look at the average personal income in the US, that is $63,000. So as attorneys, yes, we work very hard. We make a good living. But for some of us, we still feel the crunch of we're trying to pay all the bills and student loans, and, you know, inflation is creeping up on us. And so we're looking for ways to, of course, maximize our earnings and grow our profit margin. Now, inflation is kind of an interesting issue here with attorneys. I found some really interesting data on here I want to share. I don't normally like to put a lot of words on a screen, but in this case I did. So the US Bureau of Labor Statistics has reported that for the first time in 20 years, the average wage for lawyers went down last year. So that's kind of significant. Now, it didn't go down like, you know, thousands of dollars. It went down $880, but still that's a decrease. And what's interesting is that it's a decrease amidst the time of a rise in inflation. So this was really the first time that inflation beat the earnings of a lawyer, which is, to me, very interesting. You know, over the past 20 years, our earnings as attorneys has always grown faster than inflation. And so this was a kind of like, we hit the brakes and what's going on, and we got to figure out the economics of our business model. But, over the last 20 years, the average lawyer salary rose 61%. And over that same period of time, inflation grew 49%. I think that's just really some interesting data. And it shows why, if you're feeling that crunch of inflation, you're not alone. Whether you're feeling it at the grocery store, the gas pump, wherever, it might be something that is getting your attention more so than it has in prior economic downturns. So all of this together, we're working a lot of hours. We are maybe feeling a little bit of an economic crunch. We're looking for ways to get this work done and make more money. This all points to the fact that it's probably time to grow your law firm. And, hiring is its own big challenge. Let's talk about hiring a little bit. So, when it comes to hiring, the traditional model of hiring a full-time in-office associate is really slow. Lateral hires, where you're hiring someone to come over from another firm, can take months. And if you want to hire an entry-level attorney who's just recently finished law school, that, typically happens once a year around this time, when the May graduates have taken their bar, hopefully gotten their bar results. There's some of that in the spring, but, all of this time spent hiring with interviews and job posting and everything takes time away from client work that you could be doing. That is, probably a higher and better use of your time. So hiring is slow. Hiring is also really expensive. When you're thinking about hiring a traditional in-office associate, you have to think about a lot more than just their salary. And by the way, their salary can be a pretty pricey ticket. This was some data on an associate's median salary by their seniority. So first year, second year, third year. This came out from the ABA. The most recent data I could find was from 2020. But of course, this does include some big law data, which might skew the numbers and make them seem a little larger than they might be in the solo and small firm area. But, I think whenever you're looking at making a hire and you're considering the salary of that attorney, it's a good rule of thumb to tack on another 30 to 40% to cover the cost of their benefits and everything that goes along with hiring them. You got to look at the training costs, of course, insurance, computers and equipment, bar dues, other membership dues, office space. There's a lot to consider, and this is a big price ticket. This is something that holds a lot of attorneys back from getting help, is because they don't think they can afford an associate. And so the great thing is there's a lot of other options. Now, on top of hiring being slow and expensive, just because you find someone and you do hire them doesn't mean they're going to stay. Last year, there was data that came out showing that 1 in 4 law firm associates quit. And because of this turnover and the tough hiring market, law firm recruiting costs really went up. Potential employers are spending a lot of money to try to recruit and attract talent to their firms. And also, associates have started demanding much higher salaries. And a lot of this comes again from big law and trickles down. But just last year, associate salaries rose over 11%. So it's getting more and more expensive and more challenging to find talent in this legal market. All of this, we believe, points to the fact that the law firm associate model is really broken, that this traditional way we've hired of hiring an in-office full-time associate to be down the hall from you doesn't make sense for a lot of lawyers and a lot of law firms anymore. And that outsourcing work to talented legal freelance attorneys is a much smarter solution. It is a great way to flexibly grow your firm, because you can get just the help you need when you need it, whether that's a one-off project you need someone to write, or if you need a limited amount of hours every week via a subscription. Outsourcing work can obviously get work off of your to-do list onto someone else's to-do list, which can reduce your stress. You are able to bill their time and make money off of that. We're going to dig way into that in just a moment. But outsourcing can also allow you to tap into expertise when you need it. With outsourcing, you can often collaborate and work with a freelance lawyer who perhaps has years, if not decades, more experience than you and deep knowledge and expertise in a specific area of the law. And that can be a real advantage to you and your clients when you're trying to get an advantage in a case and, make a difference in the trajectory of how this is going. So there's a lot of reasons to consider outsourcing rather than the traditional law firm hiring method. And the good news is there's a lot of companies out there that can help you find that help. Obviously, we're one of them. If you're looking for paralegal help, there's companies that do outsource paralegals. If you're looking for appearance counsel, which we by and large don't do, there's companies that do that. So there's a lot of resources out there for whatever aspect of the substantive legal work you need to outsource. And another big benefit of going with outsourcing versus the traditional hire is that the process of outsourcing to get the help you need for your law firm can get you help a lot faster. Now, with LawCLERK, of course, we do work a couple of different ways. Number one is project work, just one gig at a time. When you need help, you need someone to write a motion or do some research or help with some discovery work. That's a project. And you can connect with a freelance lawyer to get started on project work in often hours and sometimes even less than an hour, in minutes. So it's very fast to connect and find the talent you need when you need it. For those of you looking at our subscription program, which we'll talk about more later on too, that hiring and recruiting process is a little more in depth, but again, just a drop in the bucket compared to the traditional hiring process and how long that takes. With our subscription program, you can often connect with and hire what we call a remote associate in days rather than months. So outsourcing is a faster, more efficient way to find that help you need when you need it and get your law firm moving. So, okay, we've laid the case for why it makes sense to get help with the economics of a law firm, kind of what the general temperature is of hiring and recruiting in legal today. But I also want to address a few misperceptions. Now, I've talked to thousands of lawyers over the past few years, and there's several, there's a handful of common misperceptions that I encounter about legal outsourcing. One of the most common is the fact that a lot of attorneys believe you can't bill a freelancer's time at a market rate to your clients. Okay. They think you have to pass it through as a cost. And so that makes it a cost to the law firm. And that's simply not true. We're going to dig into that now. So again, one of the most common misperceptions is the misbelief that you can't bill a freelance lawyer's time to your client at market rates. Okay. So this is a good time for us to go into the ethics of outsourcing. And again, I'm not going to bore you with an in-depth ethics lecture, but we'll go over the basics. And also please know that if this particular issue of outsourcing is of interest to you, you can download our ethics white paper. It's on our website, lawclerk.legal. In the post-events notes, we will send a link to that as well with the link to the replay of this if you'd like to see it. But for those of you who may be watching on the replay on YouTube in the future, you can access our ethics white paper at lawclerk.legal. So in general, of course, we're going to focus on the billing component of these ethics rules, but there's a handful of ethics rules that are key to keep in mind with outsourcing. Just a quick overview of those. And again, these are all the model rules, which by and large correspond to each state's own rules of professional responsibility. But, competency, you can't outsource to do legal work that is beyond your scope of competency. So again, I'm an estate planning and probate lawyer. If somebody comes to me with a capital murder case, I have no business taking that on. I should not be outsourcing and trying to get the talent to work a murder case when I have no general competency in that area of the law. Okay. Communication, you have a duty to be responsive and to keep your client informed of what you're working on with the case. Of course, the duty of confidentiality, I don't think I need to go into that at all. Rule 5.1 about supervision. When you are working with a freelance lawyer, it is still your duty to supervise them and review their work before it goes out the door. Unauthorized practice of law. This is a big one that we get a lot of questions about, UPL. The quick and gritty answer there is when it comes to outsourcing, know whether or not the work you are outsourcing would require the freelance lawyer to engage in the practice of law or not. So if you are hiring appearance counsel to go to court for you, of course, that attorney has to be licensed and in good standing to appear in that court and make an appearance on your behalf. However, if you're hiring a freelance lawyer to do research or draft a document for you, they don't have to be licensed in your jurisdiction. And that opens up the door to you connecting with talent outside of your geographic area who may have deep expertise into the issue you need help with. And then, of course, the key rule we're going to dig into 1.5, which is the reasonableness of fees. Okay, Again, don't like to normally put a lot of text on here, but I felt like it was important for us to really dig into this issue. Model Rule 1.5 talks about the lawyer-client relationship and how we can charge fees for our work. A lawyer shall not make an agreement for, charge, or collect an unreasonable amount for fees. The factors to be considered in determining the reasonableness of a fee include things like, and I highlighted a few because I think they really pop and they relate to working with a freelance lawyer. So of course, the time and labor required, the novelty, the complexity of the issues involved in the work, and the skill to perform it. So again, like that goes to, if you find a freelance lawyer who's been practicing for 20 plus years and has deep knowledge in this area of law, it would be reasonable for you to charge a premium for their work. Number three, the fee customarily charged in the locality for similar legal services. So if you are a family law attorney in Missouri, you need to factor in what other family law attorneys in your area charge for services. You're not going to charge the rates that someone might charge in New York City for family law work. The nature and length of the professional relationship with the client. And then last but not least is the experience and ability of the lawyer or lawyers performing the services. So again, this goes to, how long they've been practicing and what their experience has been with their career. Okay, Model Rule 1.5. You can charge a reasonable fee for your work, and this extends to freelance lawyers. Couple more important authorities and points on this. Okay, the Supreme Court has actually chimed in on this issue back in 1989. You can look up Missouri v. Jenkins. And in this case, the issue was the state of Missouri was saying that an attorney could not charge a market rate for the work of a paraprofessional, which would include a freelance lawyer. And the Supreme Court resoundingly held that paraprofessional time, including the time of a freelance lawyer, may be awarded and charged at prevailing market rates. Of course, again, this is going to go to that reasonableness test, but this is another interesting case if you want to look it up and read through this. Another resource for you to consider would be ABA Opinion 00-420. In this opinion, ethics opinion, the ABA held that attorneys may bill the services of contract lawyers. Okay, contract lawyers and freelance lawyers means the same thing. They can bill those services to their clients at prevailing market rates, so long as the rates satisfy Rule 1.5a's reasonableness requirement. So all of this, you can see, just keeps pointing you back to, you can do it, just be reasonable. Okay, I grew up in Nebraska. I'm, the daughter and granddaughter of a farmer. And for those of you from the Midwest have probably heard the saying, pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. So don't be a hog, be reasonable. You have to throw in a farming reference, sorry. Okay, so what's a reasonable rate? It's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Any Elise Meyer fans out there? If not, if you know, you know. If you don't, then you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But we've already covered this, but to recap, the factors that go into a reasonable rate include things like your geographic market, what other attorneys in your area charge, the level of expertise the attorney has in that specific practice area, the complexity of the work they're doing. And how can you go about determining that? There's a lot of resources out there. Here's a few ideas. If you are not sure what someone in your market, in your area is charging for a fifth-year attorney, for example, look at some of the fee petitions that you've come across in your cases in your court and see what other firms are charging. Or pick up the phone and call a colleague at another firm and say, hey, I'm thinking about bringing on this fifth-year attorney in a limited capacity, and was just kind of curious what you guys charge at your firm for fifth-year attorneys. People share that kind of information. If in doubt, you don't feel like you have those resources, a good rule of thumb is it's typically reasonable to charge a rate lower than your own rate for work done by a freelance lawyer. If perhaps you have another associate on staff or a paralegal, that could also be a benchmark where, if you bill your time at $250 an hour and you bill your paralegal at $100 an hour, maybe you want to bill that freelance lawyer somewhere between $150 and $200 an hour, depending on their practice number of years. So those are some fees. And this is the kind of thing that, your dedicated advisor here at LawClerk is always happy to talk through with you. Our team is here to support you and help you figure out things like this, but don't let this be a holdback. If you're not quite sure how to set the rate, you're going to figure it out. Okay, now one caveat to all of this Just want to note for any of you who may be joining from Texas, Texas has one little twist on this rule, and that they have some specifics about how the work shows up on the actual bill that is presented to the client. Okay. So Ethics Opinion 577 in Texas says lawyers may bill their clients for contract lawyer services at more than the rate paid to the contract lawyer, meaning the market rate, if the following four requirements are met. The fee is proportional to the services. Number two, the client consents to the terms of the fees. Number three, the total fee must not be unconscionable or unreasonable. And number four, the bill, so like, again, the paper bill must show that the contract lawyer is not a member of the lawyer's firm. So practical considerations here. Number one, don't stress about this. We have a blog about this on our blog. If you want to know more details, go to lawclerk.legal and click on the blog, and then you can just search by the word Texas and it will pop up. Good practice pointers here would be to go ahead and include language in your standard engagement agreement authorizing you to delegate work to a contract lawyer at your discretion, so that you get client consent to that via the engagement agreement at the onset of the representation. And then as far as, that showing up on the bill, you just say, services performed by Jane Freelancer, parentheses, not a member of the firm. And, that would be how you would meet these requirements. So again, anyone in Texas, we've got a blog on this, check it out. But these are just a few quick things that couple of hoops you got to jump through, but nothing major. The benefits of leveraging the services of a freelance lawyer and making extra money certainly outweigh the any perceived headache of jumping through these hoops. Okay. That covers the ethics rules. Now let's get to the part you've all been waiting for, the economics. What does this look like in terms of dollars and cents? Let's look at the economics of outsourcing. And, I think an alternate title for this section could also be Show Me the Money. Okay, so let's talk about the money, because I know that's why you're here. All right, we've already established that lawyers can make money by outsourcing and billing the work of a freelance lawyer to their client at a reasonable rate. Okay, we've established that. What does that mean in terms of dollars and cents? Let's look at a project-based example first, okay? So let's say you hire a freelance lawyer through LawClerk for a project, one piece of work. Maybe it's a motion for summary judgment, and you post that project for a flat fee of $1,000, okay? Through our site, the freelancers are still going to track their time. They're going to give you a time card at the end of that work that says, hey, here are the dates and the amount of time I worked and the description of work, all the information you need to put on a bill to send to the client. In this example, let's say the freelancer worked 8.5 hours on the project, writing the motion for summary judgment. You determine, based on your geographic area, your practice, et cetera, that a reasonable rate to charge for their services is $200 an hour. So 8.5 hours times $200, $1,700 can be billed to the client. Keeping in mind that you paid $1,000 to get the work done, that is generating a profit for your firm of $700. Okay, that's one project, $700. Plus, that saved you 8.5 hours of time. That's a whole workday that you could be working on other things, gearing up for trial, meeting with new clients, so many things. Okay, that's one project. Now, what if you did one project like that every week for a year? Okay, $700 times 4 weeks times 12 months. That's over $33,000 over the course of the year. Now, if you're in that category of attorneys that makes the average of $127,000 a year, that's a really significant amount of money. That is a game-changing amount of money that can help you, tackle those student loans or reach your savings goals, or, put extra money towards retirement to retire early. Whatever it is for you, that's really real money, $33,000. Okay, so that's a project example. And there's a lot of attorneys. There are hundreds and hundreds of attorneys nationwide using project-based services to make well into the thousands of extra dollars. We know of several firms that are making hundreds of thousands of dollars extra through project work. Okay, let's go to another example now in terms of our subscription program. And I'm going to talk you through that as well. But first though, sorry, I wanted to point out, if you go to lawclerk.legal and you want ideas of projects and what people are paying for them, click up on that top navy blue bar, attorney resources, And we have sample projects by area of law. So if you're a bankruptcy attorney or an employment attorney or a family law attorney, whatever it may be, we have got a guide for you that shows examples, deep examples of the economics of these projects and what other attorneys are posting. That will help get your wheels turning on ways you can outsource and make more money in your firm. Okay, now subscription. Okay, here's an example using our subscription program. This example says you hire a remote associate to help you 40 hours a month, and you are paying the remote associate $100 an hour. So you're paying out $4,000 a month to have this access to this work. You determine, based again on all those factors, that the reasonable market rate for this freelancer's work is $275 an hour. So if you're billing out 40 hours at $275, you're billing out $11,000. And again, provided you're collecting on that, 11,000 minus 4,000, increased monthly profit of $7,000. Okay, over the course of a year, that's $84,000. That is a tremendous way for you to increase the profits of your firm without growing your overhead, and also retaining the flexibility so that if suddenly you find you need more than 40 hours, you can increase it to 60 for a few months. If you need to pull it back to 30 or 20, we can talk about that. But this is a really flexible way for you to get the help you need in a remote capacity, and to free up your own time to do the work that is a higher and best use of your time. I see a couple questions. I'm going to get to those in just a second. The subscription program has been a true game changer for hundreds and hundreds of attorneys across the country, and it can be for you too. The overview of how subscription works with LawClerk is, if you already have an account, you're going to connect with your dedicated LawClerk advisor. If you don't have an account, then make one. Then you'll be assigned an advisor that can help you with this process. You give us your requirements. What are the characteristics and the traits of your ideal remote associate? Is it someone who's practiced for more than 10 years in, complex real estate transactions? Is it someone who's done appellate criminal defense work? You tell us all the things that you would want in your dream hire. We go out to our network, we find people that match those criteria, we vet them, and then we present typically the top 4 to 6 candidates to you. You can interview them, and if you find a match, great, you're matched. The program runs in a 30-hour minimum every 4 weeks. So minimum is 30 hours. Really, anything less than that, folks, it works better with projects. But if you're finding that you need a solid, 8 to 10 hours a week, then 30 to 40 hours is a great place to start. And you're going to be amazed how much you can offload and use up that time very quickly. Again, you can flex up and down. Let's say you start out at 100 hours a month because you've got 4 trials coming up, you're slammed, you need help with discovery and trial prep. If those trials suddenly all settle, we can roll it down. And of course, even with subscription, you can always post projects too if other things come up where you need some extra expertise. So it's a very flexible way for you to get the help you need. And we've also seen a number of attorneys get super creative with the way that they've used our subscription program. So for example, let's say you have a real estate practice and you really need an associate to help you on the transactional side of the real estate practice for 40 hours a week or a month, 40 hours a month. But you are, buried on the litigation side of the real estate practice, and you could use someone 80 hours a month there. You could get 2 different remote associates with 2 different subscriptions to best fit those needs. Likewise, if you have kind of a general practice, maybe you need some help with your criminal practice 40 hours a month, and you need some help, with your immigration practice 40 hours a month. You can mix and match over practice areas as well. So we can get really creative here, and that's pretty exciting to me to see all the ways we can do that. All right, I'm going to take a quick glance at our questions. Okay, we've got some great questions. Okay, Helene, you asked if we have resources for paralegals. We do not have paralegals. We only have freelance lawyers at LawClerk. Here's what I would say on that is a lot of the work that you might traditionally think of giving to a paralegal, you can give to our freelance lawyers for comparable rates and a higher level of expertise. So definitely don't discount that. If you are looking for paralegal services, there's a lot of those out there, typically by different regions of the country. So definitely investigate that if that's the best way to staff your firm is through paralegal work. Okay. Nick asked, for subscriptions, do you always pay the associate on an hourly basis, or can it be project-based? So Nick, yeah, great question. For our subscription program, it is always a block of hours, okay? Now, again, we can help you figure out if based on your current workflow, it makes more sense for you to go into the subscription program or to be more project-based or what, or a combination thereof. The subscription program itself does run in a block of hours. All right, another question here. The question is, if the outsourcing attorney is charging a flat fee, assuming the client gives consent to outsourcing, then does the freelancing attorney's name still need to be on the bill? My answer to that would be no. As long as the client is consenting to it in the engagement agreement, then you can, as the outsourcing attorney, determine what part of that flat fee is going towards paying that freelancer to draft the work. And of course, you're going to review and revise and finalize it for the client. In that scenario, I don't believe that the freelancing attorney's name would need to be on the bill. But of course, I would encourage you to check your local rules to see if any local rules apply. Another question here. Great questions, guys, by the way. Thank you. Sabrina asks, does it have any impact on the premium of malpractice insurance? Great question. So far, we have never heard of this impacting the premium of malpractice insurance. We've looked at a number of different policies, and they include this for coverage for paraprofessionals, whether that's a paralegal or an actual law clerk from a law school or a freelance lawyer via LAWCLERK. The insurers I've talked to think it's a great resource. They want attorneys to have this kind of resource because they know sometimes you get slammed and you need extra help, and they would rather you get that extra help than get yourself into trouble. So again, you can ask your own insurer, but we've never seen this cause an increase to the premiums for your insurance. Another question here, does LAWCLERK pay the attorney a W-2 or a 1099? We pay all of our freelance lawyers on a 1099. So the way it works is the hiring attorney pays us. We hold the money till the work's done. We pay the freelance lawyer, and then we issue them a 1099 every January for taxes. Okay, another question here. Thank you. Does the subscription plan have a feature where unused hours can roll over to the next month? It does. We've recently updated that so that yes, there is a rollover feature. The way that works is you are allowed to roll over to the next month up to 25% of your subscription hours. So, okay, I should have made a slide on this. I do have a handout on it, but if you have, let's say you have a subscription for 100 hours, okay, the most you could roll forward would be 25 hours for the next month, 25%. So if in 1 month your freelancer bills 70 hours, you have 30 unused, you could roll forward 25. I hope you follow me there, but we do have a rollover feature. And again, that's something that your dedicated LAWCLERK advisor can help you with. Fantastic questions, guys. Thank you so much. I think I've covered them all for now. We'll come back and check that again in a minute. All right, hopefully I've laid out my case today as to why we believe and we know that outsourcing work to talented freelance lawyers can be a much smarter business move for so many solo attorneys and small firms across the country. It gives you the flexibility to access deep talent when you need it to get your work done, to grow your profits without increasing your overhead. And we've also gone over how exactly you can bill the time of a freelance lawyer to your client at a reasonable market rate. That's the key word there, is reasonable. So I'll come back and check more questions in a moment, but here is the challenge. Okay. So you got this and we can help. My camera just cut out. That's unusual. Okay. So what my challenge would be to you is, if you already have an account with LAWCLERK and you want to explore our subscription program, then I would ask you to connect with your advisor at LAWCLERK to explore subscription. Okay. If you put in an order for subscription by the end of September, so this is only September 8th, we are going to start that subscription search for you. And then if you launch a subscription as a result of this inquiry in the month of September, we're going to send you a pair of Apple iPods when your subscription launches. Okay. So work with your advisor, order a subscription this month. When that subscription goes live, I'm going to send you a pair of iPods. Okay. That's the challenge. Now, what if you're on here and you're like, well, I don't have an account yet. I don't have an advisor. How do I do that? Easy peasy. Okay. Go to LAWCLERK.legal right now. We're almost done. So it's not quite a full hour here that we're going to take. So you have time. Go to LAWCLERK.legal and join today. Sign up for an account as a hiring attorney. It takes about 4 or 5 minutes to sign up. The last step of the sign up process is we ask you to text us or email us a selfie of you with your driver's license. So just hold your ID next to your face like this. Super easy. The reason we do that is to make sure you are who your ID says you are, and that based on the name on your ID, you're an attorney in good standing. Okay. We do this for everyone to make sure only attorneys are using LAWCLERK. Once you sign up, you're going to automatically be matched with a dedicated LAWCLERK advisor, and you'll be prompted with a calendar to schedule a time to talk to them soon. Schedule a time, and when you talk, you can talk to them about your needs, and if a subscription makes sense, again, put in a subscription order, and if it launches, well, I'll put in an order this month, and when it launches, whether it's this month or next, I'll send you iPods, okay? Really appreciate you being here with me today. I hope that you will take this as a sign that it's time to explore outsourcing, get the help you need to power your firm, and get to work. So I'm going to go back to, I think we maybe had a few more questions. Nancy asked a question about the rollover hours and is there a cap? I apologize, Nancy. I think it's just to the next month. So, and that's the kind of thing that if you're having extra hours several months in a row, we're going to be reaching out to you saying it seems like maybe this is too many. Let's roll it back to 80 because we don't want to charge you too many. So that's the kind of thing that if your workflow drops, we're going to work with you automatically to figure out if we should drop the number of hours, because we don't want you paying for work that you're not getting or that you don't need if your workflow has changed. So don't stress about that. We will work with you. And again, it's just one of the many ways that we keep it very flexible to get you that help you need. Again, guys, really appreciate your time today. Thank you for the questions. You're welcome, Nancy. Thank you for being here. You can, if you also need some help, have general questions, go to LAWCLERK.legal. There's a book a demo feature there. If you want some help to sign up or you have more questions you want to talk about one-on-one with one of our team members, you can book a demo there on the homepage. Email us, support@LAWCLERK.legal. We are here for you to help you succeed with your firm and your financial goals. Thank you so much. I'll hang on for a minute in case anyone is typing any more questions. And if not, we are wrapped up. And thanks, John from Houston. You're looking to do some freelance work. That's great. If you haven't signed up, go do that today. No fee to sign up, no monthly fee. And there's a lot of opportunities, especially in Texas. I don't know what your practice area is, but definitely go register today, John, and we'll do everything we can to help you find some freelance opportunities. All right, looks like everyone's dropping off. I don't see any more questions coming in. You're welcome, Mike. Gosh, everybody has such nice manners saying thank you for the webinar. You guys are the best. I'm glad it was helpful. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up now. Everyone have a great rest of your day, and I'll be looking for those subscription orders because I know we can help you. Thanks. Bye.